Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 13th, and right now we are looking at the Pacific Ocean with Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon here. Check out our next system. It is here. It's across the Gulf of Alaska, and that will be moving in towards the area as we go through the day tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Probably on in through Monday. We're going to have some troughing here across much of the Pacific Northwest. We've got some very interesting weather coming up here as well. We have thunderstorm potential, some very cold conditions across some of the mountainous areas here as we go through the weekend. I just want to point that out because a lot of people are starting their camping season here. A lot of people off in the backcountry there, and this could be affecting some of the campgrounds out there. So we'll go over that in some detail here as we go through the video this morning. Taking a look at the increased fire concerns for Friday, Eastern Washington, Spokane National Weather Service talking about those low relative humidities and some wind gusts to 35 miles per hour. You could have some fire control issues there. Grassy areas may be an issue. This was issued this morning here, again, June 13th, this morning today at 6 a.m. Taking a look at the chances of thunderstorms this weekend, you can see it does include Northeast Washington, Idaho Panhandle, Western Montana, and you can't rule out a thunderstorm in other areas as well, but higher odds probably across a lot of the Cascades. And we're going to do more of this here in a moment. We'll look at this in some further detail as we go through the high resolution models upcoming here. But some of these gusty winds and some dangerous lightning could be present with some of these storms, again, issued this morning here by the Spokane National Weather Service. And this is Pendleton National Weather Service down in Oregon. We got the wind advisory up, some gusts of 50 miles per hour. You can see I-90, 82, and Highway 97 could be impacted here. Again, updated this morning about 6 a.m. So gusty winds and thunderstorm potential here for portions of Western Montana, Idaho Panhandle. Also, don't want to leave them out here because you're going to feel these impacts as well. Some gusts up over 40 miles per hour and some dangerous lightning could be with some of these storm cells as they move across the area. Looking at Seattle yesterday, not a bad day out there, 67 degrees here, some nice sunshine and nice and sunny across a lot of the areas this morning as well. But yeah, we're going to be cooling things down here as we go through the weekend, though. And again, I want you to watch the Saturday, Sunday forecast coming up, especially if you're going off in the backcountry here. It's going to get a bit chilly across the higher terrain. Now, looking at the European last night's run versus yesterday morning's here. This is at 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. You can see British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. Put this into motion, and you'll see we are not having much model disagreement from run to run here. Pretty good agreement that this storm system will be rolling in here, especially on the day Saturday, Sunday. You can see this trough hanging around as we go on in towards Sunday afternoon, probably with us as we go on in through Monday for some portions of the Pacific Northwest as well. So what exactly is going on? Well, let's take a look at the temperatures at about 18,000 feet, 500 millibars here. And you can see we're about negative 15 Celsius there. But watch this lobe of cold air really move in and pivot over the Pacific Northwest as we go through the day Saturday. That's what's going to be this weather driver here. And then as we continue on in through Monday, actually Sunday afternoon on into Monday, you can see this cold air is going to hang around here for a few days. Taking a look at the North American model, this is a high resolution look at things here. And if I put this in motion, you'll see pretty good agreement with the European model here. You can see that slug of cold air really move over the region here as we go on in through the day Saturday. Check that out, 30 below Celsius here at 18,000 feet, marking that cold air aloft, which is going to help with the instability, and it's going to help kick off some thunderstorm activity here as well. Some convergent zones, some small hail, and some lightning are all potential here with this system. Now, taking a look at the lightning flash density potential with the European model here, we're going to scroll through here, and we're going to move on into Saturday here, because that's when the main threat starts to emerge here across the Pacific Northwest. And you can see we do have this thunderstorm threat showing up. Western Washington, mainly Portland north across some of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Northeast Washington as well. And as we scroll through Saturday afternoon, check it out. Some of the Central Sound could be under the gun for a thunderstorm or two. And then we scroll on in through Sunday. And I want to point this out as well because we do have this potential as we go on in through Sunday afternoon also for some of Western Washington, Eastern Washington, British Columbia, some of the Rocky Mountains here. Now, taking a look at something a little bit more closer, this is Seattle, and this is 80-meter wind speed on the high-resolution North American model. So we're going to take a look at the convergent zone and just how progressive it is going to be as we go through the day Saturday. I'm going to scroll ahead here. We're now into Saturday morning. You can see the Chehalis Gap. This is the terrain feature where there's lower-level terrain here where this wind can funnel through out of the southwest. Olympic Mountains are here, and you can see the Strait of Juan de Fuca, of course, another low-level gap. And where these winds converge here is where we get the typical typical classic Puget Sound convergence zone. So as we scroll through the day Saturday, notice these westerlies start to turn northwesterly around the northeast side of the Olympic Mountains, and they'll be meeting up somewhere here. So you can imagine you've got this interesting setup here where you got these southwest winds and you've got these much lesser winds in the lee of the Olympic Mountains here. So you get what's known as kind of a pinwheeling effect here. So if you get an updraft over the top of that, you can get some rotation in some of the showers that move across this area here. And it's actually the feature that actually helped spawn that EF2 tornado across Port Orchard there back in 2018, I believe it was. But if we look on into Saturday afternoon, you can see this is about 4 o'clock. Look at these northerlies meeting up with some stout southwesterlies here right across the central Puget Sound there. So that's what I call the Olympic Mountain velocity shear zone there, and that can help kick off some interesting weather. You might even see a funnel cloud out there on the day Saturday. But of course, the biggest threats are some gusty winds, some lightning, some small hail, and maybe some heavy downpours with this activity. But again, you can see the north wind trying to make its way down the Puget Sound here as it meets up with the southwest winds. Could cause some issues for SeaTac if you're flying out on Saturday afternoon. Some airplanes can get struck by lightning at times out there as well, and it can cause delays. It's pretty typical that airliners do get struck by lightning, about an average of one a year. Any given plane would be struck about once a year here, so it's not that big a deal. They are meant to handle that. It's nothing to be afraid of by any stretch of the imagination, but it can cause some airport delays. So if we take a look at the North American model, so I showed you that wind shift there trying to occur down the Puget Sound, and we going through Friday there. Now we go into Saturday, and you can see how things really destabilize, and that's a mark of that cold air that we looked at 18,000 feet. That colder air aloft helps with this convective available potential energy here, marking that instability in the atmosphere there. So this is what's going to help kick off some of this thunderstorm activity as we go through the day Saturday. Now, bouncing out a bit here, I want to show the composite reflectivity, or what the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 2 to 3 days. As we go through Friday and notice some showers start to move into some of the coastal areas here on the day, maybe into the Puget Sound, the Cascades. Again, mainly northwest Oregon north with that, but you can see some being wrung out here across some of the Cascades of Oregon. We scroll on in through Saturday and things get a little bit more interesting here, and the North American model is showing some of these thunderstorm potential here, or some of this thunderstorm potential here across some of western Washington, off into the Cascades, convergent zone trying to form and push off into the Cascades here as well. So yeah, interesting stuff. Eyes on the sky Saturday for sure. And we're going to be going over this in some more detail tomorrow to just kind of see exactly how that Puget Sound convergence zone is likely to unfold. But I want to show you last night's European model here. As we go through the day tomorrow, you can see the precipitation moving in here as we go through Friday afternoon. And then this trough is going to be right overhead here as we go through Saturday. You can see, there were probably some pretty good shower activity across western Washington, British Columbia. Again, lesser amounts here across portions of Oregon. Then we scroll on in through Sunday afternoon. You can see again here, you can't rule out thunderstorm potential on Sunday also. Then we scroll on in towards Monday afternoon. You can see again thunderstorm development here across some of the Pacific Northwest. And as we go on in through Tuesday afternoon, that trough still with us, but starting to kick off to the east at that point. So let's take a look at the national blend of models. Again, I want to point this out that as we go through Friday afternoon, let's call it Friday night, and then we'll go into Saturday morning. You can see some of the snow flying for some of the higher terrain, and that doesn't just mean snow up across the higher terrain, but it means colder conditions here. Even that cold rain can cause hypothermic conditions out there for people off in the backcountry here, because it is June and people like to start their camping trips and whatnot and start their outdoor activities. So just a heads up for that, because we are really going to be cooling things down here as we go through Saturday morning on in through Sunday morning. And if we look at the daily 2-meter minimum temperature here as we scroll through Saturday morning and look at Sunday morning here, there's some 20s out there across the Cascade. So again, heads up for those very raw conditions out there across the backcountry. And then as you can see, as we go through next week, probably warming things back up, no doubt. This is apparent temperature. This takes into account the wind chill. So I'm just going to scroll forward here, and we're going through the afternoon hours today. You can see not bad out there. And we go through Friday morning, Friday afternoon across the Cascades. But look, as we get into Saturday morning here, you see some 20s showing up there, a pretty widespread. Some of these cold conditions are getting down into some of the lower elevations here with a lot of cold air aloft. Then we go through Saturday afternoon and on into Sunday morning here. Look at some of these raw conditions out there across the backcountry. So again, just drawing your attention to that. Be prepared for that this upcoming weekend. And if we take a look at snow water equivalent, we are not doing well here across Pacific Northwest. Some places had 40 to 50 day early snow melt versus normal. So we do have that threat for some enhanced fire risk as we move on through the summer months coming up here. Again, snow water equivalent, just kind of showing you that Oregon did much better than Washington or British Columbia did, but we are definitely running a deficit here across much of the Pacific Northwest. They do talk about the snow drought out there as well, and they do mention that several stations lost snow 40 to 50 days early, and yeah, but Oregon did better than Washington, however. So yeah, it's probably something we'll look at maybe a time or two more here before we get into the summer months here, but not a great sign. And this is the National Blend of Models daily max 2-meter temperature. So good news is today, it's not bad. Look at Seattle, 71 degrees today. Portland getting into the mid, some upper 70s in the Willamette Valley, much warmer east of the Cascades as well. We drop those temperatures down a bit tomorrow. We start to bring some clouds into the area. Then we go through, sorry about that, Saturday. Look at this high, only 61, mid 60s for Portland here as we're going to have this trough overhead. It's going to keep those temperatures suppressed. There's Sunday, Monday. Then we start to bounce back a little bit here as we go through the midweek and then the end of the week coming up here, maybe going above average a little bit. We'll see how that trends here over the next few days. And taking a look at the extended forecast, let's take a look at the artificial intelligence European model. It goes out about 2 weeks, but you can clearly see this initial storm system rolling in here as we go through this weekend. Trough hangs out there and doesn't want to leave us alone until probably some point on the day Tuesday. Finally kicks out of here, and then you can see a little bit of trough and hanging out here as we go through the end of the week. Maybe we'll see how that trends, of course, but then it shows a ridge building after that. Maybe we'll get some late June warmth here across the Pacific Northwest. But of course, this time of year, you can still get these troughs swinging through here, but you got to take that with a grain of salt at 360 hours out. And we'll take a look at the GFS. This is the 12Z. This is hot off the presses. And again, you can see the trough moving through. Very good agreement with the European model and the North American model here. And this trough, the GFS really develops this trough as we go through the later portion of the weekend into early next week, hangs it out here for a bit, and then finally pushes off on the day Tuesday coming up. And we scroll off into the extended and maybe a little bit of a sign of a ridge buildup as we go through next week. Again, we'll be breaking that down. Looking at Seattle, Tacoma, you can see the temperatures here as we go on in through Tuesday, very suppressed with that troughing around, and then the potential for the bounce back here. Precipitation potential here with this trough as we go through the weekend as well. Plain as day on all 50 of the European ensemble members there. And the blue line there is the control run, the initial conditions best we understand them. The green one is the average of all 50 of these ensemble members, and each one of these has their initial conditions tweaked a little bit to try to correct for any errors in our understanding of the atmosphere there. And the blue box here is the 90th and the 10th percentile, and the dashed lines here mark the extreme values of some of the outlier runs here on the ensemble members there. And just in case you wanted to know, a little ensemble 101 for you. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook through June 22nd. So they got that below average signal here. This is bound to change, no doubt. 6 to 10 day precipitation here, above average signal. And just a heads up there, as I mentioned earlier in the video here, we do have some enhanced fire risk or elevated fire risk for Friday and Saturday across some eastern Washington. Some areas are in the moderate risk as well. But anyway, it's on its way here, folks. Yeah, interesting stuff coming up this weekend. Thunderstorm potential, chilly temperatures across the higher terrain. We're going to go over this in much more detail. I shouldn't say much more. We're going to recycle it all again and go over it in detail again tomorrow and break down some of the high resolution models, like the high resolution rapid refresh will be in range at that point as well. So we'll go over some of that. But otherwise, I hope you guys are having a good day. Get out there and enjoy that sunshine while you can. And we will do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.